They say you never forget your first love. Mine wore a captain's uniform and promised me the world. We met at 25,000 feet, married at 30, divorced by 35. For 3 years, I requested routes he'd never fly, changed my schedule, avoided his name on crew lists, built a careful life where our paths would never cross. But tonight, Christmas Eve, on a nearly empty red-eye to Tokyo, there was no avoiding him. Because the airline only had one captain available for this route. And as I stepped onto that plane, my breath catching in my throat, I heard his voice over the intercom. "Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Captain James Mitchell, and I have one very important passenger on board tonight who needs to hear something I should have said 3 years ago." My hand froze on the galley counter. Every flight attendant in that cabin turned to look at me because they all knew. Everyone in this airline knew about Captain Mitchell and me, and they all knew how it ended. My name is Sophia Martinez. I'm 42 years old, and I've been a flight attendant for 22 years. I fell in love at 30,000 feet. It started on a routine flight from New York to London. I was 32, confident, professional. I'd been flying long enough to become invisible to most pilots. Just another uniform, another face in the crew briefing. But James Mitchell noticed me. He was 35 then, newly promoted to captain. Dark hair, just starting to show silver at the temples, strong hands that moved over the controls with absolute certainty, and those eyes, the kind of blue that reminded you of clear skies and endless horizons. Our first conversation was about coffee. "You take it black?" I'd asked, preparing his pre-flight service. "Like my humor," he replied, with a smile that changed everything. Dark and probably inappropriate for a professional setting. I laughed. Actually laughed, something I rarely did at work anymore. That was the beginning. For 6 months, we kept it professional. Polite conversations, brief exchanges. But there was something there. A pull, an awareness. He requested me for his flights. Not obviously, not every time, but enough that I started to recognize the pattern. Enough that my heart would race when I saw his name on the crew sheet. It was on a winter route to Tokyo, ironically the same route we're flying tonight, that everything changed. We'd hit severe turbulence over the Pacific, the kind that makes even veteran flyers nervous, the kind where you see fear in passengers' eyes and have to maintain a calm you don't feel. James's voice came through the intercom, steady and sure. "Folks, this is your captain. We're going through some rough air, but I've flown through worse. Much worse. Trust me and trust this aircraft. We'll be through it in about 20 minutes. Something in his voice, not just confidence, certainty, like he was making a promise he intended to keep. After we cleared the turbulence, after the passengers settled, he called me to the cockpit. "You were scared," he said, not as a question. "No," I lied. "Sophia." My name in his voice. "You were gripping that coffee pot so hard your knuckles were white. I could see it on the camera. You were watching me." "I'm always watching you." The admission hung between us, raw, honest. "James, I know. Fraternization policies, professional boundaries, all the reasons this is a terrible idea. Then why are you telling me?" He turned in his seat, and for the first time, I saw past the captain's uniform to the man underneath. "I'm tired of pretending I don't look for you in every pre-flight briefing. I'm tired of requesting routes I think you'll be on. I'm tired of flying planes full of people to romantic destinations while the woman I actually want to take somewhere is serving them drinks in the back." My heart stopped. "I'm 35 years old, Sophia. I've dated. I've had relationships, but I've never felt like this. Like, if I don't tell you how I feel, I might actually regret it for the rest of my life." "And if I feel the same way," I whispered, Then we figure it out together. At 30,000 feet or on the ground, I don't care. I just need to know. I kissed him then, in the cockpit of a 777 over the Pacific Ocean, with his co-pilot diplomatically studying a weather report. 3 months later, we were married. It was perfect for 5 years. He was my best friend, my partner, the person who understood the strange rhythm of airline life. The time zones, the irregular schedules, the exhaustion that comes with constantly being somewhere else. We bought a house near the airport, planned our routes to overlap when we could, built a life in the margins between flights. But the sky is a jealous mistress. James was ambitious. He wanted to move into management, then training, eventually hoping to become a check airman. It meant more flights, longer trips, different schedules. I wanted stability. After years of living out of a suitcase, I wanted roots. Maybe even to step back from flying, to take a ground position. We wanted different futures, and neither of us was willing to compromise. The fight started small. Missed dinners, forgotten anniversaries. His phone always in his hand, checking schedules, trading shifts. "You love flying more than you love me," I'd said one night, immediately regretting it. "That's not fair, Sophia." "Isn't it? When was the last time we were home together for more than 48 hours? You know how this job works. You've been doing it as long as I have. And I'm tired of it, James. I'm tired of living in airports. I'm tired of our marriage existing in layovers." The silence that followed was worse than any argument. "So what do you want?" he finally asked. "I want you to choose, the sky or me. Don't make me choose something I'll resent you for." Those words, they were the beginning of the end. We tried counseling, we tried compromise, but the truth was, we'd both already made our choices. He'd chosen the sky, and I'd chosen to stop chasing it. The divorce was civil, painfully so. Lawyers, paperwork, the house sold, assets divided. "I'm sorry," he'd said on the day we signed the papers. "Me too. I do love you, Sophia. You know that, right?" "I know. Just not enough." For 3 years after that, I avoided him, changed my base, requested routes he'd never fly, built walls so high that even thinking about him felt dangerous. Until tonight, Christmas Eve. On a nearly empty red-eye to Tokyo, there was no avoiding him, because the airline only had one captain available for this route. And as I stepped onto that plane, my breath catching in my throat, I heard his voice over the intercom. "Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Captain James Mitchell, and I have one very important passenger on board tonight who needs to hear something I should have said 3 years ago." My hand froze on the galley counter. Every flight attendant in that cabin turned to look at me, because they all knew. Everyone in this airline knew about Captain Mitchell and me, and they all knew how it ended. Christmas Eve. The airport is decorated with lights and garlands that feel mocking. I checked the crew sheet one final time before heading to the gate. Flight 447 to Tokyo. Red-eye departure, nearly empty. Most people want to be home for Christmas, not flying away from it. I scanned the crew list. Captain J. Mitchell. My stomach drops. No, this can't be right. I pull up my phone, hand shaking, and call crew scheduling. "This is Sophia Martinez, employee number." "Miss Martinez, I know why you're calling. Captain Mitchell specifically requested you for this route." "That's not possible. He knows I don't fly his routes." "He filed it as a training evaluation. As a check airman, he's within his rights to evaluate any senior crew member. And technically, you're due for your annual assessment." A training evaluation. He'd found a loophole. I want to file a conflict of interest. On Christmas Eve, Miss Martinez?
This flight leaves in 90 minutes. You're the only available senior attendant for this route. If you refuse, we'll have to cancel the flight. Is that what you want? 48 passengers, crew members who need this paycheck, all of them dependent on my ability to be professional. Fine, I say through clenched teeth. The walk to the gate feels like a death march. When I arrive, the other flight attendants are already there. 2 junior crew members, Emma and David, both of whom look thrilled to be working Christmas Eve, young enough that the magic of flying hasn't worn off yet. Sophia, Emma bounds over. Can you believe we're flying with Captain Mitchell? I've heard he's amazing. And wait, didn't you used to... Emma, I cut her off gently. Let's focus on the pre-flight, okay? She nods, catching the warning in my voice.
I'm checking the galley inventory when I feel him before I see him. That awareness, that electric current that I thought I'd killed 3 years ago. Sophia, I turn slowly. James Mitchell stands in the galley doorway, and time does that thing where it compresses and expands simultaneously. He's 45 now. The silver at his temples has spread. There are lines around his eyes that weren't there before. Laugh lines, stress lines. I can't tell. But he's still him. Still the man I loved so completely it nearly destroyed me. Captain Mitchell, I say, voice professionally neutral. Don't, he says quietly. Don't do that. Don't do what? My job? Don't pretend we're strangers. We are strangers. We have been for 3 years. Sophia, why am I on this flight, James? What kind of game is this? He steps closer, and I have to fight every instant not to step back. It's not a game. I needed to talk to you. So you trapped me on a 13-hour flight? You wouldn't take my calls. You blocked my emails. What was I supposed to do? Accept that we're over, I say, and I mean it to sound strong. Instead, it sounds broken. I can't. 2 words. They land like a physical blow. Captain Mitchell, a voice interrupts. The young woman I don't recognize. We need you for the pre-flight check. James looks at me for a long moment, and I see something in his eyes. Determination, fear, hope. This conversation isn't over, he says. Yes, I reply. It is. But as he walks away, I know I'm lying. The boarding process is mercifully smooth. Only 48 passengers on a plane that seats 300. They spread out, most choosing window seats, creating islands of isolation in the vast cabin. An elderly couple sits together in first class, holding hands. A businessman who clearly wishes he was anywhere else. A young mother with a sleeping toddler. All of them trying to make the best of spending Christmas Eve at 35,000 feet. I go through the motions, safety demonstration, welcome announcements, pre-flight beverage service, smiling, professional, dying inside. Then comes James's voice over the intercom. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Captain James Mitchell welcoming you aboard Flight 447 with service to Tokyo. We're expecting a smooth flight tonight with some beautiful views of the northern lights if you're awake in about 6 hours. Flight time will be approximately 13 hours. A pause. Longer than it should be. I'd also like to wish everyone a Merry Christmas Eve. I know being away from family during the holidays isn't easy, but sometimes the most important journeys are the ones that take us away from where we think we should be. Another pause. And sometimes the most important conversations are the ones we've been avoiding. Emma looks at me, confused. David is focused on his duties, but I know. That last part was for me. The flight takes off smoothly. We climb through the winter night, New York's lights disappearing below us. I busy myself with tasks that don't need doing, reorganizing the galley, checking supplies,
Anything to avoid the front of the plane, where I know he sits. Three hours into the flight, most passengers are asleep. The cabin is dark except for a few reading lights. Emma and David are resting in the crew bunks. And the intercom chimes. Sophia, please come to the cockpit. My heart hammers. Every instinct screams to refuse. But refusing means making a scene, means questions I can't answer. I walk to the cockpit door and knock. Come in, James's voice responds. The co-pilot, her name tag reads First Officer Chen, glances at me as I enter. Take a break, Michelle. 30 minutes. She looks between us, clearly sensing the tension, but nods and slips out. And then we're alone. 35,000 feet above the Pacific, in the cockpit of a 777, just like the first time. But everything is different now. I can't just summon me here like this, I say, standing stiffly by the door. Sit down, Sophia. I prefer to stand. He turns in his seat to face me fully. The instrument panels cast a soft glow across his features, making him look both familiar and strange. 3 years, he says. 3 years I've tried to respect your space, to let you move on. Then why are you doing this? Because I saw you last month. I freeze. At JFK, you were in Terminal 4. I was walking to my gate and I saw you laughing with another girl. And for just a moment, I thought, maybe she's happy. Maybe she's moved on. Maybe I can finally stop hoping. His voice cracked slightly on the last word. But then I saw your eyes, Sophia, and they looked exactly how I felt, like you were going through the motions, like you were still carrying something heavy. You don't know what I'm carrying, I say. Don't die. He stands, and the cockpit suddenly feels impossibly small. I know what I'm carrying. Regret. So much regret, it feels like it's crushing me. James, let me finish, please. I nod, unable to speak. You were right. That night, when you said I had to choose, you were right to ask. But I was wrong about what choosing the sky meant. He runs his hand through his hair, a gesture so familiar it makes my chest ache. I thought I was choosing my career, my passion, my identity. But really, I was choosing fear. Fear of what? Fear of not being enough without this. He gestures to the captain's uniform, the cockpit around us. I'd spent my whole life becoming this. Captain, pilot, the guy who was confident and in control. And you wanted me to be just James, just a man, just a husband. That's all I ever wanted, Sophia. Not the uniform, not the status, just you. I know. And I was too scared to believe that could be enough. So I lost you. And for 3 years, I've flown every route, logged every hour, climbed every career ladder. I made check airmen last year, got my commendation, everything I thought I wanted. And none of it means a damn thing without you. The words hit me like turbulence. I've dated, he continues, tried to move on. But every woman I meet, I compare to you. Every conversation I wish I was having with you. Every achievement, the first person I want to tell is you. That's not fair, James. You don't get to walk away and then change your mind 3 years later. I'm not changing my mind, he interrupts. I'm finally being honest about what I felt all along. I was an idiot, a coward. I chose wrong. And what if I've moved on? I challenge, even though we both know it's a lie. Have you? The question hangs between us. Tell me you don't feel this, he says, gesturing between us. Tell me you don't still feel what we had. Tell me you can walk out of this cockpit and never look back. I did that once already. Walk out, signed papers, let you go. Then do it again. Walk out that door, go back to your galley, serve your passengers, and we'll never speak of this again. I'll respect it this time, I promise. My hand reaches for the door handle, but I don't turn it. Why now, James? Why to now? Why Christmas Eve on a red-eye to Tokyo? Because 3 years ago, on a winter flight to Tokyo, I fell in love with you in this cockpit, and I thought maybe lightning could strike twice. And because Christmas is about miracles, and I'm hoping for one. What kind of miracle? The kind where you give me another chance, where I get to prove I've changed.
Where I show you that I finally understand what matters. People don't change, James. No, but they grow, they learn. I've learned. Learned what? That I can fly every plane in the world, but none of them will take me where I want to be. Because where I want to be is wherever you are. Ground or sky, I don't care anymore. I just want you. A tear runs down my cheek. You broke my heart, I say, and my voice is shaking. You made me choose between loving you and losing myself, and when I asked you to choose me, you couldn't. I know. His voice is rough with emotion, and I'll spend the rest of my life making up for it if you let me. How can I trust you won't do it again? Won't wake up one day and decide the sky matters more? He reaches into his pocket and pulls out a folded piece of paper. This is my resignation, he says. Effective next month. I'm leaving the airline. I stare at him in shock. What? I've accepted a position as a flight school instructor. Ground-based, regular hours, home every night. James, you can't. That's your whole life. No, Sophia, you were my whole life. Flying was just what I did. I finally figured out the difference. The paper trembles in his hand. I'm not asking you to take me back right now. I'm not even asking you to forgive me yet. I'm just asking you to let me try. To let me prove that I've changed. That I finally understand what I lost. And if I say no, pain crosses his face, but he steadies himself. Then I accept it. I'll take the ground position anyway. Start building a life that has room for someone, even if that someone isn't you. But God, Sophia, I hope it's you. The cockpit is silent except for the quiet hum of instruments. I need time, I finally say. How much time? I don't know. More than a conversation in the cockpit. He nods, and I see hope in his eyes mixed with fear. Okay. Time. I can do that. Can I at least call you? Take you to dinner, coffee, anything? Maybe. I say, after this flight, after I've had time to think. That's not a no, he says, and there's a faintest smile. It's not a yes either. I'll take maybe. Maybe is more than I've had in 3 years. A knock at the door interrupts us. First Officer Chen, shift change in 5. Acknowledged, he calls back. I turn to leave, my hand on the door handle. Sophia, he says my name like a prayer. Merry Christmas. I look back at him, this man I loved, lost, and might be finding again. Merry Christmas, James.
The rest of the flight passes in the blur. I serve coffee and meals mechanically, answer passenger questions with automatic politeness. But my mind is 30 feet forward in that cockpit, replaying every word. He quit. He's walking away from flying. For me. The gesture is enormous, terrifying, and I don't know what to do with it. Emma finds me in the galley during the descent preparation. "Are you okay?" she asks gently. "You seem distant." "Long flight," I say with a smile that doesn't reach my eyes. "The Captain Mitchell seemed really interested in making sure you were comfortable. He asked me 3 times if you needed anything." "He's thorough," I say neutrally. "Sophia," Emma says quietly, "I know it's not my business, but whatever history you two have, I saw the way he looked at you during boarding, like you were the only person in the world. Emma, my parents divorced when I was young, spent years being bitter. Then, when I was 18, my dad showed up at my mom's door on Christmas. Said he'd been an idiot, that he let pride and stubbornness ruin the best thing in his life." "What happened?" "They've been remarried for 8 years now. I'm just saying, sometimes people deserve second chances, especially the ones who've learned from their mistakes." The plane descends through winter clouds into Tokyo. The city spreads beneath us, a carpet of lights in the pre-dawn darkness. James's voice comes over the intercom one final time. "Ladies and gentlemen, we're beginning your descent into Narita International Airport. Local time is 5:47 a.m., and it's a brisk 2 degrees Celsius. On behalf of the entire crew, thank you for flying with us, and we wish you a Merry Christmas." A pause. And to quote a poet much wiser than me, "The best and most beautiful things in the world cannot be seen or even touched. They must be felt with the heart. Safe travels, everyone." The landing is smooth. Perfect, actually. Classic James. Passengers deplane slowly, gathering carry-ons, bundling against the Tokyo winter. The elderly couple from first class stops to thank me. "Beautiful flight," she says. "And that captain, such a romantic. Is he single?" Her husband laughs. "Dorothy, leave the poor girl alone." "What? I'm just saying a man who quotes Helen Keller over the intercom has depth." They shuffle off, still holding hands after what must be decades together. The plane empties. The crew completes post-flight checks. Emma and David head to the hotel shadow. "You coming, Sophia?" David asks. "In a minute. I need to finish my paperwork." It's a lie. The paperwork is done. I'm stalling. Eventually, I'm alone in the cabin. The plane is silent, lights dimmed for the cleaning crew that will arrive shortly. I should leave, go to the hotel, sleep, process, decide. But instead, I find myself walking forward. The cockpit door opens and James sits in the captain's seat, completing his own paperwork, but I suspect he's stalling too. "Hi," I say from the doorway. He turns and the surprise and hope on his face nearly undo me. "Hi." That was a beautiful quote, the Helen Keller one. I'm trying to be more poetic. Seems like the kind of thing guys should have been doing 3 years ago. "James?" "Listen," he interrupts, standing. "I know you said you need time, and I respect that, but before you go, I need you to know something." "What?" "I'm not doing this. The job change, the grand gestures. I'm not doing this to manipulate you. Even if you decide you can't forgive me, I'm still leaving. I was still making changes because you were right about everything." He steps closer. "I need a life that has room for more than just flying. Room for our partner, for stability, for maybe someday a family. All the things I was too scared to want before." "Why were you scared?" "Because wanting things means you can lose them. Being alone in a cockpit is safe. Loving someone, really loving someone, that's the most terrifying thing I've ever done. And when it got hard, I ran. I chose the safe option. And now?" Now I'd rather risk everything for a chance with you than play it safe without you. The Tokyo dawn starts to break outside the windows, painting the sky in the shades of pink and gold. I'm scared too, I admit. Scared of getting hurt again. Scared of being second choice again. You were never second choice, Sophia. You were always first. I was just too much of a coward to admit that flying was easier than being vulnerable. What if we try again and it doesn't work? I ask, voicing my deepest fear. Then at least we tried. At least we didn't spend the rest of our lives wondering what if. But I don't think it won't work. Not this time, because this time I know what I stand to lose. He takes my hand and the touch is electric. 3 years and it still feels like this. Can I hug you? Or is that moving too fast? I laugh and it feels good. It feels right. You can hug me. He wraps his arms around me and I fit against him exactly the way I always did. Like coming home. Thank you, he whispers into my hair. Thank you for giving me another chance. Don't make me regret it. I won't. I promise, Sophia. This time, I won't. We stand there in the cockpit of a 777 on the Tokyo tarmac on Christmas morning, holding each other like second chances and miracles. Hey, James, I say into his chest. Yeah? Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas, Sophia. And for the first time in 3 years, I feel something I thought I'd lost forever. Hope. 6 months later, I'm standing in the same Tokyo terminal, waiting for a different flight home. But this time, I'm not alone. James takes my hand as we walk toward our gate. Not a crew gate, but a passenger gate. We're flying home together, off duty, after a vacation we actually planned. 3 dinners turned into 3 weeks, 3 weeks turned into 3 months, and 3 months turned into us. We took it slow. Therapy, together and separate. Hard conversations about what went wrong and how to do it differently. Boundaries, compromises, building something new from the ashes of what we had before. He kept his promise, left the airline, started teaching at the flight school, comes home every night at 6 p.m. And I took a position as a training supervisor.
Still connected to aviation, but with regular hours and weekends off. We haven't moved back in together yet. We're not rushing. But last week, he asked me to look at houses with him. Not for us, he'd said, not yet. Just to think about the future, to imagine what we might want. And I realized I do want a future with him. What are you thinking about? He asked now, squeezing my hand. Just how different this feels. Flying as passengers instead of crew. Good different? Yeah, good different. Our flight boards, we find our seats, not in first class, just regular economy, and settle in. As the plane takes off, climbing through the clouds, James leans over. You know what I just realized? What? This is the first time in 23 years I've flown without being responsible for the plane. How does it feel? Terrifying, he admits with a laugh. I keep wanting to critique the captain's technique. Let it go, I say, resting my head on his shoulder. Just be a passenger for once. I'm trying. It's harder than it looks. I know, but you'll get used to it. He kisses the top of my head. As long as I'm next to you, I think I can get used to anything. The plane levels off at 35,000 feet, the same altitude where we first fell in love, the same altitude where we fell apart. And now, the same altitude where we're building something new. Hey, Sophia, he says quietly. Yeah. Thank you for that red-eye flight. Thank you for giving me a chance to say everything I should have said 3 years ago. Thank you for being brave enough to say it.
He's quiet for a moment, then, "You know what else I just realized?" "What?" "We're flying toward home, together, not running away to separate destinations anymore." I smile and lace my fingers through his. "Yeah, we are." And as the plane carries us forward through the sky, I think about the elderly couple from that Christmas Eve flight, holding hands after decades together. Maybe that will be us someday. Two people who got it wrong the first time, but figured it out eventually. Two people who learned that love isn't about choosing between the sky and the ground. It's about finding someone who makes you want to land.